Shalom. First thing and foremost, we give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in the gospel, broad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. This is from Dabu 7:7. It reads into, it's about to go down. Trump's deploying 4,000 troops to Latin American waters. Box truck, hold on, let me see. Yep, box truck missiles. And this come in tandem with 3 articles, and I actually got queued up, which I'm gonna go into the first one. But it says here, it says Trump is preparing for a large force projection across the Latin American and Caribbean theater. Now, when you think of Latin America and the Caribbean, you're thinking of the tribes, man. Okay, you're thinking about Central and South America, and you're thinking about the islands, the West Indies, Dominican Republic, or the Espanol, or the DR, which consists of the Haitians and Levites, the Dominican Republic. You think about Cuba, all right, Puerto Rico, the island tribe, so to speak. Because when you think of the island tribes, you think of Benjamin, Levi, all right, Ephraim, Manasseh, also Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon. I call them like the island tribes. And then, you got the Jake, which is pretty much everywhere. Jake is mixed to mingle among all 12 tribes. Then you have Central America, which you got Zebulun and Issachar. And then, you got South America, which goes into Naphtali and Asher. So that's how you can break it down per continent. But nonetheless, this is nothing more but war declared on the people, the Israelites, right? You Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So it says the U.S. Southern Command, Southcom, will deploy 4,000 Marines and sailors to counter narco-terrorist cartels, which we know the cartel was set up by the governments, man, and they're paid off. They're like contractors for government, like hitmen. And it says, and moves aim to enhance hemispheric defense and deter or limit Chinese activity in the region, particularly around the critical infrastructure and trade checkpoints. It says this will bring blowback to America and hit the southern border quickly. But the deployment of 2, GEMA Amphibious Ready Group, which is the ARG, and the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit to Southern Command, which has not been previously reported, is part of a broader repositioning of military assets to Southcom area of responsibility that has been underway over the last 3 weeks, one of the officials said. It says a nuclear power attack submarine, additionally PA Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft, several destroyers and guided missile cruisers also being allocated to U.S. Southern Command as part of the mission, the official stated. All right, so yeah, man, Esau's declaring war on the tribes in a roundabout way, and he's using certain guidemanship's employees to be justified on declaring war on our people. So anyway, hold on, let me put this here. Slack, I was reading something. But anyway, this is like a 3.5 minute video. So I'm going to play it and get a couple of precepts and go into our article and get some points. And that'll be that. So here we go.
What's up, guys? D7 checking in with you. And we got some developments here in terms of what's popping off at the southern border. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting to see what they're going to do. On day 1, Trump said, we're under a national emergency. Everybody said, why? He cited the cartels and everything going on with the southern border as the reason. Since they've been mobilizing quietly and they've militarized 2/3 of our border. There's camps down there as well. Camps that most of these illegals aren't even seeing because the illegals are getting shipped out straight to a destination. We have basically Jade Helm unfolding right in front of us right now with troops all over the place. All it would take is a real pandemic, real lockdowns, and the biggest nightmare of your life will begin.
Yep, and that's what we was talking about at the camp. How America is really surrounded. Okay, you got troops, and all these troops are being deployed strategically in certain locations, mainly in the metropolis areas of these cities, to be able to harbor conflict when it comes, all right? Because it's a thing called order out of chaos. When the collapse comes and when hell break loose, then they're gonna already have a military presence built up in your cities to deploy the guards. And this is why you had the tenants of JL 15, Project Megiddo, Rex 84. Okay, you had the bill called the Enemies Alien Act of 1893 or some shit like that, 1897. All right. So these things have already been on books. So when time comes, they can already enact them. So JL 15, going back to 2015, they was doing various mock operations and joint drills, preparing for different scenarios like pandemics and terrorist attacks and all this other shit. They already got the training. So therefore, when shit happens down there, being strategically deployed into various parts of the country, man. And that's why the Lord said that I will fill thee with men as caterpillars, man. Okay, because you have a foreign troop presence built up in America as well. You see?
All these guys going around rounding up illegals, they've been rounding up anyone that doesn't comply. Right? So now it looks like the next phase. Begins. They are saying that they're flying the Poseidons, that they're moving military, Marines, thousands down into the theater. They're calling this a theater now of the Caribbean and Latin America. So whenever they start using these terms, calling it a theater, well, they're ready to set up shop for war.
Yep, because you got something called the theater of war. Okay, when you look into the Communist Manifesto, they go into these different terms and abbreviators to explain certain things, like some shit. I think they was protesting it out there, Cali or something like that, in front of like Trump's hotels, and people said something about festivals and all this other shit. But I'm like, a festival? Like, ain't no fucking festival going on here. People are getting ready to go batshit crazy. They're getting ready to lose their fucking mind, you know. So therefore, it's witchcraft, okay, through these different terms and conditions they're telling you about. You know, this shit is getting ready to go down, man. You know, scriptures say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. All right, so let's get a precept real quick. This is the book of Ephesians 5, and I'm gonna start at verses 15. It says, "See that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise." All right, meaning don't be on no. Meaning be on point. Okay, understand your surroundings. Understand what's going on in the world. Have a working knowledge of what's going on in the cities that you reside in. You know. Be on point. Don't be like these other clowns out here that's going back and forth on these different podcasts and trying to get their name out there and become these Israelite gurus and podcast work and all this other bullshit. Here, America is done, man. You ain't got too much time left to be trying to make something of yourself. Okay, we literally got 0.5 seconds on the shot clock in the fourth quarter, and niggas are trying to go to the fucking locker room already. Like, dude, you got to stay in the game, you know? And it says, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. And we understand the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is to destroy this goddamn place and put this devil in captivity where he belongs. Okay, with the 2/3 of you being casualties. And it reads, it says, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your hearts to the Lord. So we're supposed to be rejoicing in this time we in. Okay, asking the Lord to hasten and accelerate the second coming so we can finally get the hell up out of here, man, and finally live life. All right, it's not living, you know.
They have sent ships. They have sent destroyers to position. It's about to go down. Get ready. This is going to change things. We will officially be at war. It will begin. And you'd be crazy to think that you're not going to see any blowback. We've already seen action down there at the border. Someone's lost their life in an attack and everything else, but people just are not paying attention. So as soon as they start to strike these cartels, there's going to be blowback. There's going to be hits in different areas you watch, and it all begins. So they've got all this stuff in motion right now. Now, you've also got to pay attention to some of the things that they're using. Drones are going to start to be used as weapons, just as you see in Ukraine. You got to start practicing and getting hip on how to take these things out of the sky, those that are deemed a threat. There's a new company out there that's making these little turrets that will take them down out of the sky for cheap, basically in a military type of situation. And you also have these vans that South Korea is talking about, and others are displaying out here, these box trucks and vehicles that are just pulling up, and they're launching missiles out of them. I'll attach an image of that. I'll leave some links so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Full scale here. But this begins. I would get ready because there's going to be blowback, and this changes everything. This puts America, literally our soil, our southern border, on the front lines of a war. Full scale. With the military everywhere, with drone strikes going down. So, heads up, man. It looks like it's the next level for sure here. I'm going to leave links. Join me on the live stream where I talk about this in greater detail. Going live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. Hope to see you guys there.
Everyone uses the internet.
Yeah, so there you go. All right. Hold on. Where the fuck is it at? I had it pulled up, but I don't know what the hell happened to it. They're always changing the settings on these damn things. Zero hedge. Oh, here we go. Yep, it says U.S. Southcom deploying 4,000 troops to Latin America waters as cargo narco operations. All right. So, yep, it says while the deployment is intended primarily as a deterrent, it gives Southcom pre-positioning and allows Trump broad military options if he orders action against narco terrorists. There's a movie that came out years ago called, name of that damn movie, man, Sicario. And they showed you basically a buildup of cartels and how the U.S. government was basically fighting the cartels. But it says that the deployment shifts U.S. assets. Hold on. Matter of fact, Salakia. Where did I go? Yeah, it says narco-terrorist official notes the Marines aren't trained for drug or interdiction and we need Coast Guard support. But the incoming buildup follows a Pentagon directive making border security, counter-narcotics, and protection of the Panama Canal top priorities, right? Because you remember the Panama deception. See, what Esau knows that there's resources within these Latin American countries, man. Like you got Venezuela, which is good in oil. Puerto Rico, once upon a time, was good in gold, minerals, you know. So Esau knows. But it reads, it says the deployment of U.S. shifts from earlier North Command border operations to sustain Southcom presence. But last week, the New York Times reported that Trump issued a directive authorizing the Pentagon to conduct direct military operations against certain American drug cartels. But shortly afterward, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum rejected a future presence of U.S. military forces on our soil. But when have they ever fucking stopped America from invading? Okay, they have known to invade and occupy lands that clearly claim to be sovereign. And they set up no-fly zones over sovereign lands, man. But if somebody did that over here, then all of a sudden that's a deterrent to American freedom, or that's a declaration of war for the American people, on the American people. It says, but by Wednesday evening, open source intelligence analysts posted the flight tracking data of General Atomics MQ-9 Reaper spy drone operated by U.S. Customs and Border Protection that flew deep into Mexico. But the broader moves here by the Trump administration is clear: enhance hemispheric defense through counter-narcotics operations and maritime security. And the second objective is to deter the Chinese activity in the region, okay? So it says the flow of fentanyl from China to the United States, which they're actually putting that shit in here. They're actually allowing it to come over here, okay? Because you can't get through anything unless, Borders, Customs, and Patrol and national, they have to know certain things that's coming into the country, and they have like satellites, and they have like particular scans that they can know if some illegal shit is coming here. But a lot of the illegal shit that get in here, they backdoored in, and they're well aware of that. Like all the drugs and narcotics, Everybody knows Esau brings that shit over here. Okay, ain't no regular nigga that live on 63rd and Wabash got access to no goddamn plane to fly 1,000 pounds of cocaine into the country. Everybody knows Esau's putting that shit in here. All right, so you can't trust none that this devil say. But regardless of it, man, we're seeing Esau coming down with great wrath, all right? So this is the book of Revelation 12 and 12. It says, rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. But woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth ye have a short time. So, he's declaring war on the Latin American countries, which is essentially Israelites, and he's disguising it under cartel. Cartel are basically a sting operation, so to speak. And we're not saying that the cartels don't have any wicked dealings in America, because clearly they do, but you got bigger problems on your hands than that, bro. Let's go from the book of, Micah 2 and 10, because this man is constantly, it's all about war, and it's all about war and murder and stealing resources. And this man has not had the fruits of peace since he's been a nation, since he's been in power. Okay, you would think that a person establish their kingdom and then they enjoy the fruits of their labor, they allow their kingdom to play out and do what they got to do. But here you have an established kingdom, but you're still in war trying to sustain it. Like, I don't get that. Like, when we get raised up in our kingdom, ain't gonna be no fucking war. Okay, we're gonna enjoy the fruit. The scriptures say, my people, my elect, should long enjoy the fruit of their hands. So what we put into this ministry, and once the kingdom is built, we're gonna enjoy that. Okay, we ain't gonna be sitting up here trying to fight global wars to keep people from invading. People gonna already know what's up. Now, of course, there will be little skirmishes here and there, because the nations are gonna, they're gonna be in subjection, and they're gonna still continue to go off. So, of course, we're gonna have to enforce the law on them. But then ain't nobody it ain't gonna be no global rising up against us when we get in our kingdom. All right, ain't gonna be no fucking I'm waking up and I'm paranoid, or I got to resort to living in a bunker because the enemy is coming to take me down in my own kingdom. No, that's shit you devils deal with, because you're the wicked. This is the book of Micah 2 and 1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. It says, when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Yeah, they got the power. Your courts, your Congress, okay, your administrative, your government, municipalities. It says they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses, and they take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. All right, because like I mentioned, the only thing they do is take. Okay, that's why the scriptures say that you would despise among the heathen, because the nations despise you because you just can't. You don't understand anything outside of war. Habakkuk 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up in him is not right in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yeah, because also he transgressed by wine. He is a proud man. Need to keep it at home. Right. The fuck you doing in Latin America? Fuck you doing in America, bro? Okay, you in every other country outside of your own God. Yeah, you're everywhere but what you supposed to be. Down in Petra, down in Mount Seir. You're everywhere outside of what you supposed to be, man. You in America, you in China, you in Latin America, you in South America, you in Brazil, same thing. You in Africa, you in Antarctica, you every goddamn where, man. And this is why the scriptures say that, behold, I saw the wicked multiple, or spread himself like a bay tree, roughly paraphrasing it, man, because everywhere you go, this devil has some type of jurisdiction over the earth. You can go to Switzerland, or you can go to the Cayman Islands, and you're going to find a fucking Edomite there. It's like, damn, man, you people are like cancer. But it reads, it say, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth upon him all people. Yep, that New World Order. The slogan of the New World Order, like Barack Obama a while ago when he was running for president, they always had that slogan, roughly paraphrasing, like, we're one or some shit. We're all one people, and that's not true. But it says, should these not take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? And how long unto him that laden himself with thick clay? Yeah, and that word clay goes into that. It says, should they not rise up against, it says, should they not rise up suddenly that should bite thee, and a weight that should vex thee, and thou should be unto booties unto them. Spoils, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land and the city, and all that dwell therein. But woe to him that coveteth evil covetous to his house, that they may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. It says, thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. And remember, Dabu stated that he said this would be a biggest kickback, because now you're basically bringing war to the souls of America, man. All right, and we know that the scriptures say, lift up a shout around about against her, roughly paraphrasing it. Not live should, live shout. Yeah, Jeremiah 51:14. Because now you're going to cause your land to get invaded, which you already have foreign troops over here. So technically you've already been invaded. But it's going to come to a point there, like that movie Red Dawn, that showed when they was paragliding inside of America, and they was basically taking over the cities and putting people down. You know, Jeremiah 51:11, it says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes. It says, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is his vengeance, right? You know, going into the Russians. You got the Persians and you got the Medes, you know, the Persians being the Iranians, and then you got the king of the Medes, which goes into Russia, you know. But it reads, it says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare ambushes, for Yahweh have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon, which is destruction. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, this is how we know it's talking about Babylon. Abundant in treasures, thy end is come, in the measure of thy covetousness. For Yahweh of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Okay? And that shout is going to be in the form of these troops, man, taking over your cities, and basically it's going to be a civil war. You know? So, hey, I'm going to end it giving all praises in glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you will edify. Until the next lesson. Shalom.